Welcome back to the channel. On today's video, we're going to go over a Marvel piece. Queen Studios made a number of life-size, hyper-realistic Marvel busts from kind of that whole Marvel Avengers series that they did. This one, in my book, is probably the best one they've done outside of, they did do a couple of Thanos. And one Thanos actually has the arm with the gauntlet on there. That thing's an absolute massive masterpiece in my book. But this one is a number 2. You probably can't see it back there, but it's all the way in the back of the room. So we're gonna go over that thing. So enjoy the review. And here is Captain America. I'll kind of give you guys an overall look at this thing as I give a little background information. As mentioned, this was made by Queen Studios. Now, they've made a number of Marvel pieces, really in all different scales, but life size is kind of their bread and butter. A lot of different busts, but they also have made full one-to-one life size, particularly the Iron Man series. They've made, boy, I don't know what they're up to now, 4 or 5 different full life-size Iron Mans. And then, yeah, they have a number of busts. Now, one thing to note, since Marvel is owned by Disney, most of their busts are of men characters, other than Captain Marvel. And I guess they allow Captain Marvel because she has a helmet on. But they have a policy that they will not allow women characters bigger than a 3rd scale. You may ask, why in the world would they do that? And I think they're just afraid of, unfortunately, the perverts out there that would buy it. And they're probably not 100% wrong on that. There is a, I would think, a small percentage out there, the people buying it that shouldn't be buying it. But it does suck that it kind of ruins it for the rest of our collectors. So you're not going to see a Black Widow that's licensed unless Disney changes their stance on that. I have seen a few custom unlicensed Black Widows, but they weren't near the quality of this thing. And maybe someday I'll see an unlicensed one that's pretty good and may jump on that boat. But originally, I was just going to get this piece as a one-off. Because of my current location, I just don't have the room to dive into this line. But since I am going to be upgrading to a 2.0 man cave in the next year or so, I have kind of an idea of an Avengers theme spot that I'm going to do. So I do plan on, I've already added a couple of more. But yeah, I do plan on getting around 8 or so, really, of the main Avengers. And I've got, yeah, some ideas on the spot that I'm going to set up for them. Now, this original one, when they first released it, typically with Queen Studios, they'll show some pictures maybe like 3 or 4 days before the pre-order window. On this one, when they first showed it, it just had one arm and it just had this Thor hammer on it. So it did not have this arm with the shield. And if I remember right, the base wasn't quite as high up either. And it looked pretty cool, but a lot of the community was in an uproar, like, how in the world can you give them Thor's hammer and not give them Captain's shield? And enough people complained that, well, and I think they may have knew it too, that they said, hey, we're going to delay the pre-order, we're going to do some tweaks, and pretty much stay tuned. I can't remember how long it was, maybe a month or 2. They ended up posting this with the arm and the shield, and then when I saw it like this, I mean, it took it to the next level. I thought, wow, this is, even though I'm not going to get in the line, I am definitely going to get this as a one-off. And so I ordered it, Took, you know, like a year and a half or so before I actually got it, but it definitely has not disappointed. Now, a lot of their busts don't have any arms or maybe one arm, so it is kind of sticks out, I guess, if you have the other bust, that it doesn't quite match up because it's more of a half torso. But for me, I think it just brings it to the next level. A lot of the busts they currently have that don't have the arms, they can really improve if they did do that design. And I'm hopeful in the future maybe they release a second version that is more in this style. But anyhow, let's just kind of do a review of the piece. So I did put a couple of props by him, the compass. And I apologize, I cannot remember the guy's name on RPF, and I believe he's got an Etsy store, but it's pretty nicely done. It's actual metal. So I definitely prefer, and it's a real compass too, something that's more real than something that's 3D printed to look real. And then this here is the Truth Serum. And this was made by RB Replicas on Etsy. And he's known for making real metal props. There's not a whole lot of guys out there that actually use metal. You know, there's so much 3D printed out there stuff. But I definitely like the quality of metal. So I have like 5 or 6 items that he's produced. The base, it's a pretty cool base. I mean, it's simpler in design. They've made some real fancy bases. Maybe I can just get it here and turn it a little bit. Like I said, I think the original base wasn't quite as high, but they definitely had to make it higher to fit this giant shield. And then the shield itself, and as you can see, there's a lot of battle damage. There's definitely, you know, some grime in it. This whole thing is the scene at the end of Endgame when he was fighting Thanos. So it's well weathered. Lots of scrapes. Now, one complaint that I've heard from a lot of people, and I do agree, it is thick. But I don't mind it. Now, if they could have made this real metal, I think they would have made this thinner. But I think they were super afraid of breakages. That if they would have made this as thin as the metal shields, that they just would have had all sorts of break issues. So I think the whole thickness was more of a design decision to make sure that this thing didn't break, because it's thick, it's heavy. And I think the other thing with they didn't go with metal, I don't think they just could have replicated all this battle damage and scratches and all that stuff in metal and made it look this good. Not without spending a lot more money, at least. So I am totally fine with how they did the shield. It looks good. I think the body is really well sculpted. I mean, it definitely looks like Captain America. You know, I think they sized him just right. I'm a 6 foot and kind of a athletic built guy, and this guy is probably, I would say, more around 6'3" and very athletically built. So I think it's a good portrayal of how he looked in the movie. The hands, really well done. And these are silicone. And here's my hands as a reference, which like I mentioned, I was 6 foot, and I'd say I got normal, size hands for a 6 foot guy. So his hands are a little bit bigger. But yeah, you can just see the detail. It does look like a real hand. Now, personally for me, all of this is sculpted. And it's sculpted very well. And it's painted really well. But there are a number of really high-end replica Captain America suits out there. And personally, I would have rather just had one of those suits instead of had everything sculpted. Now, those very high-end suits that are movie quality are probably more expensive than doing it this way, I am sure. So I'm sure that's the decision making that they went. But if you want to make things 100% real, why not just have a very high-end replica suit on him? But for sculpted, it looks real for sure. It's really well done. So it's a minor gripe. It's a minor gripe. But yeah, you can just see the details. I mean, all of this, while it looks real, is sculpted. But yeah, paint it beautifully. So then you got Thor's hammer here. Now, I initially had an issue with this thing. Let me show my original hammer I had here, which I can't believe it got past quality control. But yeah, look at that. Right on front, too. So I finally got a hold of the right person at Queen Studios, and they sent a replacement. But yes, my original one had that nasty paint issue on there, and can't believe it got past quality control, but it did. Now the hammer is not metal. I definitely did not expect it to be. It's sculpted. But it's definitely got weight to it. I think it looks good. The helmet's also sculpted, but this part here is mixed media. So really, I think that's the only mixed media they have on this piece. But it does look really good. I think another change they did do, I think originally they didn't have any hair in the back, but they did add the hair. Which, yeah, I mean, that was a detail that should be there. So I'm glad that they adjusted and added that. But yeah, you can see even the helmet itself shows wear and some damage. Very nice job on the ear. Looks real for sure. What I've heard, and I can kind of see why, that doing the actual ear part is very difficult to get right. And you can kind of see, and an ear is kind of an odd shape. And to get it to look real does take some artistry for sure. Here is the face. So you can see he does have some bruises on him, a little bit of cuts. But looks so real. Let me get a light here. It is kind of hard to get his eyes kind of properly where you can see him. You almost need a light shining from below to kind of light that up if you want it to. But here, I'm going to shine a light here. So yeah, you just kind of zoom in so you can kind of see how well they did do the eyes. So yeah, you can see the eyes look very, very real. Good eyelash work there. So yeah, I think Queen Studios nailed it. Great job. As mentioned, I do really hope they do some 2.0 bust to kind of do this half torso look. And appreciate you guys sticking around for this review. I know it was a little bit of a long one. Hey guys, I appreciate you watching another video. I'm a huge fan of home theater and these movie replica props. I'm going to put out a couple of videos each week in those areas. And if you're a huge fan like I am, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video.